What if NASA launched 3 secret moon missions after Apollo 17? Ones the world never knew about. In 1976, Apollo 20 touched down on the far side and uncovered an ancient alien spacecraft, crashed there for 1 billion years. But it wasn't just the ship that stunned the crew. It was what they found inside. The primary goal of the Apollo spaceflight program was to land the first man on the moon, and this was achieved on July 20th, 1969, when Neil Armstrong famously said, "That's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind." Apollo 12 also landed on the moon successfully. Apollo 13 had to abort after the crew famously radioed, "Houston, we have a problem." But Apollo 14, 15, 16, and Apollo 17 all made it to the moon and back safely. The Apollo missions made all kinds of scientific discoveries that experts still study today. Despite the incredible success of these missions, Apollo 18, 19, and 20 were officially canceled. The reasons given were budget cuts and declining public interest. Americans had achieved the goal of beating the Soviets to the moon, and suddenly, space exploration wasn't a priority anymore. But ever since then, there's been a persistent story floating around that those flights actually happened as part of a top-secret black-budget program. The story remained in the shadows of conspiracy forums and UFO communities until 2007, when everything changed. That's when we got what appeared to be confirmation from someone who claimed to be there. In 2007, YouTube user Retired Fabe posted a grainy video clip showing the interior of what appeared to be an Apollo spacecraft, igniting online buzz. It featured an orange porthole into space's black void and a control panel matching known Apollo designs perfectly. 2 standout elements set it apart: a flag combining American and Soviet symbols, hinting at a joint mission, and a patch labeled Apollo 20, with astronauts Snyder, Leonov, and Rutledge. The Retired Fabe user then revealed himself as William Rutledge, a former U.S. Air Force officer, and claimed Apollo 20 mission commander. He said the mission launched in August 1976 to investigate an anomaly from Apollo 15's 1971 photos. One image, AS-115 T9630, depicted a far-side lunar hill that NASA allegedly enhanced to reveal a massive submarine-shaped alien spacecraft, 2 miles long, crashed about 1.5 billion years ago. Connected by cables in the patch, Apollo 20's goal was to identify and breach this ancient vessel. William Rutledge blew the whistle in 2007. Do you buy his story as the real Apollo 20 commander, or a clever hoax? Drop your verdict now. But what lunar nightmare awaited when they finally breached that ancient cable-linked alien ship? Stick around if you dare to uncover what turned heroes into whistleblowers. Over the following months, Commander William Rutledge released additional photos, videos, and excerpts from his claimed mission journal, detailing Apollo 20's origins. In 1971, the Soviet Academy of Sciences contacted President Richard Nixon, sharing their lunar orbit images of the alien ship and nearby city-like structures. Lacking resources to investigate, they proposed partnering with the U.S., which had the capability. Following the 1975 Apollo-Soyuz test project, the first official U.S.-USSR joint mission, the Soviets suggested sending cosmonaut Alexei Leonov, Soyuz commander, from that flight, with Americans Rutledge as mission commander and Leona Snyder as pilot and lunar module specialist. Amid Cold War tensions, this secret collaboration aimed at humanity's most pivotal endeavor. On August 16, 1976, a Saturn V rocket launched at night from a classified site. No media, no announcements. Rutledge's journal captured the countdown's end, time stretching, training and loved ones flashing by, amid violent shaking and swelling engines. Yet peace prevailed, fear would follow. Liftoff began with a heartbeat's hover, then 8.5 minutes of ordeal, crushing weight like a building on the chest, breaths labored, blackouts common but undisclosed. Transitioning to weightlessness felt like a snapped tether, nausea often struck, unpublicized. From 125 miles up, Earth shimmered with swirling clouds over blue oceans and distant lands, evoking shared gazes below. Rutledge noted, smiling, knowing those roaring minutes were merely the easy part. If you want to see Apollo 11 astronauts reveal chilling secrets about the mission to the far side of the moon, I've also added a direct link to it in the pinned comment below this video. And don't forget to come back. The next discovery is about the secondary target and the alien base. On August 19th, at about 10:30 in the morning, 3 days after launch, Apollo 20 entered lunar orbit. Ground control revealed a shocking secondary objective absent from the original briefing: investigate Apollo 19's fate. The Soviets had shared detailed alien crash site images, prompting the U.S. joint mission. However, the Americans withheld their own prior attempt, Apollo 19, sent months earlier, which succeeded in launch and transit, but vanished without radio contact upon reaching the moon's far side. Only the crew and top NASA officials knew. Rutledge's team now had to probe this catastrophe. Adding menace, ground control directed them to a lunar module storage compartment, typically for rock and soil samples. This one held guns, signaling NASA anticipated the same threat and urged self-defense. This tied into earlier hints of lunar anomalies. In 1965, U.S. Air Force electronics repairman Carl Wolf, with top-secret clearance at Langley Air Force Base, aided NASA's Lunar Orbiter project. In a lab with international scientists, a distressed airman showed him orbiter photos revealing a far-side base, mushroom-shaped buildings, spheres and towers. Wolf, expecting a public announcement, waited over 30 years in vain. He later testified publicly, vowing under oath to Congress the truth of his account. Tap the like button to let us know this content is making a difference. And if you're watching on your phone, be sure to press the hype button right below. Every hype helps this video get published to more people, and it truly supports me in earning extra income. I promise to keep bringing you even more great content. Rutledge and Leonov drove their lunar rover in silence toward the alien spacecraft, gripped by wonder and fear. As it rose over the horizon, the craft, initially resembling a hill, revealed its immense scale, over 300 feet high, like a 30-story building, equally wide, and 2 miles long, dwarfing their rover parked 800 feet away for stability. They approached on foot, conversation fading. The hull, coated in lunar dust and pocked by thousands of ancient meteor scars, had fused with the landscape over 1 billion years, predating dinosaurs, Sumerians, and pyramids. Rutledge felt humanity's technology primitive beside this stellar relic, rendering him caveman-like. Entry proved easy. An entrance cleared by unseen heavy equipment led to mirror-smooth interiors, contrasting cratered, geometric-marked exteriors. Confirming radio links with orbiting Leona Snyder and ground control, they ventured in. Lunar dust layered the floor, 60 feet inside. Patterns suggested ancient fluid leaks, perhaps hydraulics. Attempts to chip hull samples failed. The material was unscratchable. Yet walls emitted artificial gravity, stronger than the moon's, easing interstellar travel woes, countering bone loss, muscle atrophy, heart imbalances, injury risks, disorientation, and digestion issues without bulky rotating stations. Following a corridor upward, they entered a vast chamber. Walls writhed in darkness. Helmet lights revealed fossilized alien vegetation, dried purple vines, nearly 100 feet tall, like a petrified forest. Beneath lay phosphorescent golden tears, honey-thick and glowing. They collected 2 liters, their first recoverable prize. Leona relayed Houston's urging, press deeper toward a distant light, reachable in 1 hour. Rutledge planned an hour more before return, securing the lunar module. But Leonov spotted parallel tracks in the dust, 50 feet out, fresh rover marks not theirs, leading from the ship over a ridge. Rover team to orbiter, Rutledge radioed. After alerting Leona to notify Houston, he confirmed, "We found Apollo 19. After resting in their lunar module, the Apollo 20 crew, Rutledge, Snyder, and Leonov, debated intensely with ground control over tracking Apollo 19's path to uncover its fate. The astronauts insisted on searching for survivors or answers, despite Houston's strong opposition. "We don't think it's advisable to follow the path that doomed Apollo 19, ground control warned. "It could be equipment failure, an environmental hazard, or something actively dangerous." "Understood," Rutledge replied, "but their families deserve to know what happened." "Their families believe they died in a training accident months ago," Houston countered. The Apollo 19 crew's deaths had been covered up as a routine mishap, allowing families to grieve and move on, unaware of the secret lunar mission. Rutledge pressed, "Does Apollo 19 have equipment to aid our mission?" "Negative. Any chance of survivors?" A long pause. "We are confident there is none." Finally, Rutledge invoked a core principle. "Does ground control agree we leave no astronaut behind?" Another pause. "We agree. You are authorized to proceed. Exercise extreme caution. Good luck, Apollo 20. On the horizon loomed Apollo 19's lunar module, still attached to its descent stage, a sign the crew never lifted off. Rutledge clung to faint hope they might be sheltering in the alien ship nearby, but he braced for 3 bodies in a high-tech tomb, perhaps with final messages. Adrenaline surged as they neared. The hatch stood slightly open, indicating no pressurization and no life inside. Rutledge and Leonov circled the module. The landing had been rough. The engine nozzle was buried and damaged in the soil, yet the structure held. Rutledge kicked something in the dust, a white space glove with red fingertips, matching Apollo 19's colors, not their own white and black scheme. Glancing around, he saw Leonov had vanished, already ascending the ladder, prying open the hatch. Leonov's voice crackled over the radio, tense with disbelief. There is something here. Yes, a body, but it is not human. Rutledge and Leonov stood silently for 2 minutes, stunned by the sight inside Apollo 19's lunar module, an alien body strapped to a folding examination table. The humanoid female, about 5.5 feet tall, resembled a human woman with 2 arms and legs, but key differences marked her extraterrestrial origin: 6 fingers per hand, and forehead markings matching symbols from the nearby alien ship. Her nude form gleamed under a waxy translucent coating, possibly an advanced pressure suit or preservative. Thin filaments adorned her face like a technological interface, attached to eyelids, cheeks, and mouth. Nearby, an overturned container leaked golden phosphorescent golden tears, the same substance from the alien craft, forming glowing puddles on the floor. Rutledge sealed the hatch and pressurized the cabin, a high-risk move to allow helmet removal for closer inspection, despite unknown atmospheric or biological hazards. Astronaut training steeled them for the gamble. The discovery demanded care. The air filled with an unexpected almond scent, surreal amid the tension. With biochemist Leona Snyder out of contact in lunar orbit, they proceeded alone. Rutledge found no pulse or heartbeat, only a slow whooshing of liquid in her circulatory system via stethoscope. She seemed in suspended animation, preserved, neither alive nor dead. Gently removing the facial filaments revealed human-like features and a faint, enigmatic smile, earning her the nickname Mona Lisa. Rutledge examined her respectfully, measuring height, studying hands and markings, while Leona photographed and filmed every detail. When Leona re-entered radio range on a private channel, her voice brimmed with worry. Snyder to surface team. Will, are you okay? We're fine, but we found an unexpected body in Apollo 19's module. No crew, something else. Houston's watching your feed. But listen, they already knew about the alien woman and golden tears. Chilled, Rutledge realized the mission targeted her, not just Apollo 19's fate. What else are they hiding? A hushed pause. They want you to bring her back to your module and prepare her for transport home. The Apollo 20 urban legend has become one of the most fascinating and well-crafted hoaxes in internet history. And the more you learn about it, the more impressive it becomes from a purely artistic standpoint. When YouTube user Retired Fabe, who claimed to be Commander William Rutledge, posted his Apollo 20 videos in 2007, the internet absolutely exploded with speculation and debate. The videos looked incredibly authentic and professional. But here's the thing, and I hate to be the bearer of bad news, it's absolutely not real. There are numerous articles and analyses out there that debunk these videos practically frame by frame, examining every detail and explaining exactly how they were created. But honestly, there's no need to go through all that trouble, because someone has openly admitted to creating the entire thing. The videos were created by a French artist named Thierry Speth as part of a science fiction film project he was working on. He used a sophisticated combination of practical effects, miniatures, and 3D computer graphics to create the footage. The 2 videos that received the most attention and convinced the most people were the ones showing the spacecraft's control panel and the alien woman, because they genuinely look incredible and professional. But Speth created many other videos connected to this project, and when you look at his complete body of work, the quality varies significantly. Some pieces look amazing, while others are obviously amateur productions. Now here's the really interesting part. Even though Speth freely admitted to creating the entire Apollo 20 legend, it somehow took 9 years before anyone bothered to actually interview him about it. Credit goes to researcher Chad Baxter for finally tracking down and interviewing Speth in 2016. I'll put a link to that interview in the description below, because it's absolutely fascinating to hear from the creator himself. The story I've told you today is essentially a combination of several different versions of the Apollo 20 urban legend that have been floating around the internet for years, mixed with elements from a novel that Speth wrote, telling the complete story. I'll link to Speth's novel in the description as well. But I should warn you, despite writing the book in English, Speth doesn't speak English very well, so the writing is pretty clunky and difficult to read. But if you're interested in the full story, it's still entertaining. In Speth's complete version of the story, there are even more wild elements that I didn't include in today's video. The alien woman actually wakes up during the examination procedure and knocks Rutledge unconscious. And those golden tears they collected, that mysterious yellow substance, in the novel it turns out to have incredible medicinal properties. Leonov, who in the story has terminal cancer with only a few months to live, drinks the alien substance and it completely cures his disease. By the way, Alexei Leonov was actually one of the most famous cosmonauts in real history, so Speth had to change the character's name in his novel to avoid legal issues. Also, in the book, Rutledge and Snyder end up having a romantic affair during the mission. They get married after returning to Earth, and they both drink the golden tears, which makes them age much more slowly than normal humans. And remember that bloody glove they found near the Apollo 19 landing site? Well, in Speth's novel, those purple vine-like plants inside the alien ship weren't just decorative. They were carnivorous, and they had consumed the entire Apollo 19 crew. The glove was literally all that remained of 3 human beings. There's a lot going on in that novel, and as I mentioned, the writing is pretty rough, but it's definitely creative. Despite Speth openly admitting to creating this entire story, you can still find interviews online with people claiming to be the real William Rutledge, and these interviews have continued to expand the mythology. But about halfway through Chad Baxter's interview with Speth, the French artist actually holds up a physical mask of the alien woman that he used in the filming, and it's absolutely, unmistakably the same alien face from the videos. If you freeze-frame the interview and compare it to the original footage, it's a perfect match. So how does a story like this get believed by so many people for so many years? I think the answer is actually pretty simple, and it comes down to one thing. It's the American government's fault. Now, before you roll your eyes, hear me out. There really were 3 additional Apollo missions planned after Apollo 17, and they really were canceled due to lack of funding and declining public interest. That cancellation represents one of the biggest tragedies in human history, in my opinion. Apollo 17 was extraordinarily successful. The crew spent 3 days on the lunar surface, conducted extensive scientific research, and brought back valuable samples that scientists are still studying today. Space exploration should have been the top priority for both the United States and the Soviet Union after that success. Instead, both superpowers made their top priority fighting a war in Vietnam. In today's money, the Vietnam War cost over $1 trillion. Meanwhile, NASA's budget in 2022 was just $25 billion. That represents a budget reduction of more than 90% since the height of the Apollo program in the 1970s. Yet the United States Department of Defense budget for 2022 was $778 billion. And that doesn't even include classified black budget programs. So we're easily talking about over $1 trillion spent on military operations while space exploration gets table scraps. That's the real reason the Apollo program ended. America had beaten Russia to the moon, which was the actual political objective. It was never really about exploration, scientific research, or the betterment of all mankind. It was about petty nationalistic competition and proving technological superiority during the Cold War. That's exactly why I'm actually rooting for China to keep launching successful missions to the moon. I hope they discover valuable resources like helium-3 deposits or rare earth minerals, because that might be the only way to get my country focused on space exploration again. If you can't count on American scientific curiosity and the spirit of exploration, at least you can count on good old-fashioned American greed to motivate us. And the United States better not wait too long to get back in the game, because if China achieves even a fraction of the success that the Apollo program had, it won't be long before we're all learning Mandarin as a second language. The Apollo 20 story resonates with people because it represents what we wish had happened. We wish those missions had continued. We wish we had kept exploring and pushing the boundaries of human knowledge. We wish we had found something incredible up there that would have justified continued investment in space exploration. Instead, we got budget cuts, canceled missions, and decades of stagnation while we spent trillions of dollars on earthbound conflicts that accomplished nothing except creating more problems. The fact that so many people wanted to believe in Apollo 20 says something important about human nature. We want to explore, we want to discover, we want to find out what's out there beyond our little blue planet. And when our governments fail to satisfy that fundamental human drive, we create stories that fill that void. Thierry Speth may have created a hoax, but he also created something that captured the imagination of millions of people around the world. His fictional Apollo 20 mission represents the space program we should have had, the discoveries we should have made, and the future we should be building. So while Apollo 20 never happened, maybe it's not too late for Apollo 21, 22, and 23 to become reality. Maybe it's time to stop spending $1 trillion on wars and start spending it on the stars instead. Thanks so much for hanging out with me today. If you enjoyed this deep dive into one of the internet's most compelling hoaxes, make sure you're subscribed because I've got more incredible stories coming your way. What did you think of the Apollo 20 legend? Did any part of you want it to be real? Let me know in the comments below, and I'll see you in the next video. Thanks for being with us. Leave a comment, like to show your support, and remember to hit that subscribe button for more exciting videos. See you next time.